Sport Relief is a biennial charity event from Comic Relief, in association with BBC Sport, which brings together the worlds of sport and entertainment to raise money to help vulnerable people in both the UK and the world's poorest countries. At the heart of the campaign is the Sport Relief Mile, which involves members of the public doing their bit for charity. Comic Relief teamed up with a newly established Sport Relief initiative in 2002 and alternates with Sport Relief, airing every second year in March. On television, like Comic Relief, the television programming begins in the afternoon, with CBBC having various related reports and money-raising events. This is all in between the regular programmes, but after the 6 o'clock news, the usual BBC One schedule is suspended at 7 p.m. in favour of a live telethon, with a break at 10 p.m. for the regular news programme. However, whilst the BBC News at 10 is aired on BBC One, Sport Relief continues on BBC Two, and then resumes on BBC One at 10:35 p.m., with each hour overseen by a different celebrity team. These celebrities do the work for free, as do the crew, with studio space and production facilities donated by the BBC. Presenters. Official singles. The first Sport Relief single in 2002 was Your Song, re-recorded as a duet by original artist Elton John and Italian opera singer Alessandro Safina, reaching number 4 in the chart. In 2004 Some Girls by Rachel Stevens made it to number 2, and in 2006, the third ever Sport Relief single, Don't Stop Me Now / Please, Please by McFly, was the first to top the chart, selling 36,496 units in the week ending July 29, 2006. In 2008 the Sport Relief single was by Leona Lewis with her single Footprints in the Sand, though it was officially released as a double A-side with Better in Time. In 2010 the single was Morning Sun, sung by Robbie Williams. In 2012 the song was Proud, sung by JLS, and in 2014 Word Up, sung by Little Mix, both peaking at the 6th position. Totals. Sport Relief 2002, the first Sport Relief show was presented by Gary Lineker, Ulrika Jonsson, Jamie Theakston and Claire Balding and included Stephen Ferry hosting a special edition of They Think It's a Question of Sport, John Inverdale and Susie Perry resurrecting the classic 1970s series Superstars, and the first ever bout of celebrity boxing when Bob Mortimer beat Les Dennis. The first event took place on Saturday 13 July 2002. Other items were Sport in the Square, where cast members from EastEnders and Holby City Casualty took part in a series of sporting challenges, Runaround, with Johnny Vegas, music from Gareth Gates and Will Young and contributions from Nick Hancock, Patrick Kielty, Angus Durton, Ronnie Ancona, Alistair McGowan, Audley Harrison, Alex Stewart, Tanny Gray-Thompson and Sir Steve Redgrave. One of the highlights of the campaign came at the end of the final of the Stella Artois Tennis Championship, when there was a surprise additional match for Sport Relief between the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, and Pat Cash against Elena Florence Stars and Alistair McGowan. Blair and Cash won the specially reduced set 4-1. Tony Hawks was the courtside commentator and the game was shown live on Sunday Grandstand. Sport Relief 2004, the second Sport Relief, was on Saturday 10 July 2004. The main show was on BBC One from 19.00 00.30. The first half was presented by Gary Lineker and Gabby Logan and the second half by Jamie Theakston and Tess Daly. In the first half of the show Cilla Black hosted a celebrity version of Inter-Channel Superstars, where the BBC squad took on teams from ITV, Channel 4 and 5. The stars of Strictly Come Dancing performed a special routine to a remix of iconic BBC Sport theme tunes. Bruce Forsyth was on hand to present a check. Patrick Kielty was live in the studio to talk about the Indian Railway project he had visited. Rachel Stevens performed the Sport Relief single, Some Girls. Dick and Dom introduced Ray Stubbs being swung from a crane into a giant ball of dung, and Stephen Ferry hosted another edition of A Question of Sport Relief. While the news and lottery were on BBC One, there was a brand new show on BBC Two, Stars in Fast Cars, which featured Alan Davis, Jodie Kidd, Patrick Kielty, Jimmy Carr and Darren Jordan competing in a variety of car-related races and stunts. The second half of the main show was back on BBC One from 21.30 to 00.30. Angus Durton looked at sports stars in adverts, Lionel Richie and Badly Drawn Boy performed live in the studio, John Culshaw unveiled his Wayne Rooney impersonation, and Paul Whitehouse's Ron manager interrogated David Beckham about his texting technique. Eamon Holmes was the host when rugby took on football with teams that included Dion Dublin, Lee Sharp, Martin Offiah and Matt Dawson, and in this year's celebrity boxing Ben Fogle beat Sid Owen. Colin Jackson, Sir Steve Redgrave and Arsene Wenger were amongst the sporting names who also appeared live on the show. The show also included highlights of some of the sport relief miles which had attracted 81,000 at giant and local events in all parts of the UK. Jo Brand was on hand to represent them and talk about her experiences at the Brighton Mile. Throughout the night there were also a whole series of appeal films to show where the sport relief money had already been spent and where the need was greatest. They were made by BBC Bristol and included Nick Knowles in Africa, Patrick Kielty in India and Victoria Beckham in Peru. The campaign itself involved 253 celebrities and raised £16 million. The final total on the night of the telethon was £11,078,359. Sport Relief 2006. The third Sport Relief took place on Saturday 15 July 2006 with a whole day of programming across the BBC that culminated in the main evening show on BBC One at 7 p.m. Gary Lineker, Chris Evans and Davina McCall were the hosts for the entire evening. Once again the programme came live from TC1 at Television Centre and featured its biggest lineup of names to date. The second half was back on BBC One from 22.30 to 01.00. It included golf legend Nick Faldo competing against Lineker and Evans in a comedy pitching competition on the roof of the studio where they had to get their balls into the mouths of giant cutouts of Bruce Forsyth and Jimmy Tarbuck. The second part of A Question of Sport Relief, John Culshaw's live performance as George W. Bush, Catherine Tate in a new football sketch as Nan from The Catherine Tate Show, and Sir Steve Redgrave and Colin Jackson taking part in a live power pint competition. There was also the last ever edition of Footballers' Wives which had been transferred from ITV for the night and included a guest appearance by Graham Norton. Jose Copyright Gonzalez performed in the studio. Several members of the Sport Relief Red Sox cricket team were there to talk about their tour to India, including Harry Judd, Nick Hancock, Nick Knowles, Jack Russell and Phil Tufnell, whilst Eric Ikora starred in a new sketch based in the Match of the Day studio. The third Sport Relief celebrity boxing bout was won by Jack Osborne, who defeated the formed S Club 7 singer Bradley McIntosh. It was presented by Mark Durden-Smith with Dave Spikey as ringmaster. British pop band McFly covered the hit song Don't Stop Me Now originally by Queen as the official single for the event. It reached number 1 in the UK singles chart. Sport Relief 2008. Sport Relief moved to March in 2008. BBC One's night of fundraising was held on Friday 14 March and the Sport Relief Miles took place all around the UK on Sunday 16 March. It was presented on stage by Richard Hammond, Gary Lineker and Davina McCall. Bruce Forsyth and Tess Daly presented Sport Relief Does Strictly Come Dancing. Richard Hammond, Jeremy Clarkson and James May presented Top Ground Gear Force. Jimmy Carr presented A Question of Sport Relief with the team captains Sue Barker and Gary Lineker. Sir Alan Sugar presented Sport Relief Does The Apprentice. There were occasional appearances by Jonathan Ross, Jimmy Carr, Sir Michael Parkinson, Patrick Kielty, Claudia Winkelman and Tess Daly. The BBC presented another version of Sport Relief Does The Apprentice with 10 celebrities. Also, new for this year, a special episode of Strictly Come Dancing was shown. That year's celebrity boxing saw Ben Shepherd of GMTV beat Lima on judges' vote. The final total raised on the television broadcast was £19,640,321. During the telethon, a mystery donor donated £5.5 million to the charity. Sport Relief 2010. Sport Relief was broadcast on 19 March 21, 2010. The appeal show was aired as usual on BBC One and BBC Two on March 19 from 1900 to 01:30. A special of Strictly Come Dancing aired as well as Let's Dance for Sport Relief. On CBBC there were special shows dedicated to sport relief, including a special edition of Danny's House, and Paddy McGuinness hosted a new series, Sport Relief Does We Are the Champions. The total raised on the night of broadcast was £31,633,091. James Corden also performed various comedy sketches with British athletes like Andy Murray, David Beckham and Tom Daley. Lawrence Dallaglio embarked on a grueling cycle from Rome to Edinburgh during the RBS Six Nations Championship to raise money for sport relief and the Dallaglio Foundation. The Dallaglio Cycle Slam took place over the course of a month, seeing a team cycling through all of the RBS Six Nations countries, taking in each of the international rugby stadia along the way. The aim was to raise £1 million and £1.14 million was raised, with 50% going to Sport Relief 2010. Sport Relief 2012. This year's appeal ran from 23 to March 25, 2012, with the television show airing on March 23, 2012. On the night, there were specials from Outnumbered with Frank Lampard and Christine Bleakley, Miranda at Royal Albert Hall Tennis Tournament with lots of sports stars, 2012 with Zara Phillips and Sir Steve Redgrave talking about how they should advertise the Olympics on Sport Relief, Strictly Come Dancing Underwater with Chelsea Healey and Harry Judd, Horrible Histories and Stephen Ferry with Amir Khan and Jermaine Defoe, Benidorm meets Britain's Got Talent with the new judges, Saturday Kitchen with the English football team, QI, A Question of Sport with Sue Barker as you have never seen her before, Celebrity Juice. Mo Farah takes on the race of his life against Misery Bear, 8 out of 10 Cats, Mock the Week, Kate Moss, Stella McCartney, Colin Jackson and Linford Christie are among the star names appearing, with Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley in a special edition of Absolutely Fabulous, and Jake Humphrey presents a special Nevermind the Buzzcocks with Louise Reed Knapp and Mel C alongside the regulars. On the night there was performances from LMFAO, Snow Patrol, JLS with Sport Relief Single, Emily Sander Copyright and JLS with Rugby Players Chorus. JLS also did a concert for Sport Relief. The total raised on the night of broadcast was £50,447,197. Before the main event in January 2012, there was a series called The Great Sport Relief Bake Off, which had celebrities competing. Anita Rani won the series, which also featured Angela Griffin, Arlene Phillips, Sarah Hadland, James Wong, Syra Khan, Pearl Lowe, Joe Swift and Fee Glover amongst the other contestants who took part. Another series of Let's Dance for Sport Relief ran up to the telethon weekend for 5 weeks. It was won by Roland Riven, who danced to Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim. A new series of Sport Relief Does Glee Club started on Monday 12 March, running with 1 episode each weekday. The first 8 episodes were 30 minutes long. Then there was a live semi-final and final, on Sport Relief Day, which were 45 minutes long. Segments of this and past Sport Relief events aired as part of Sport Relief Goes Global weeks after the event, in which parts of the program could be viewed in other countries, including sketches from Miranda, Outnumbered, Smithy, and David Walliams Swims the Thames. Sport Relief 2014. Sport Relief 2014 took place from Friday 21 to Sunday 23 March 2014. The official campaign launch took place on Tuesday 21 January 2014. The annual Live Telethon was broadcast live from the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park for the first time, on Friday 21 March. It was hosted by Gary Lineker, David Walliams, Davina McCall, Fionn Cotton, Jack Whitehall and Claudia Winkleman. The Clash of the Titans was hosted by Gabby Logan and Claire Balding. In January 2014, the BBC announced that the 2014 edition of its Sport Relief broadcast on March 21, 2014 would feature a new Only Fools and Horses sketch. During the 3 weeks before the telethon, Sport Relief's Top Dog aired on BBC Two with Gabby Roslin as host. The Sport Relief Mile was joined by 3 major cycling events and over 600 simulthons, under the umbrella title of the Sport Relief Games. The main public faces of the three sections of the Games were Jessica Ennis-Hill, Ellie Simmonds and Chris Hoy. Advance entry opened on September 24, 2013, nearly 4 months ahead of the official campaign launch. John Bishop and Sebastian Coe competed against each other for the Clash of the Titans event at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park along with their celebrity teams. The total raised on the night of broadcast was £51,242,186. Sport Relief 2016. Sport Relief 2016 will take place from Friday 18 to Sunday 20 March 2016. It has been confirmed that the Sport Relief Mile and Samorthon will both be returning. Sport Relief Mile. The Sport Relief Mile was created to give the campaign a focus with an event that was open to anyone to run, walk, jog, wheel, bounce or crawl, regardless of ability or age. It was also designed to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Sir Roger Bannister's first sub-4 minute mile. Participants can also choose to cover 3 miles or 6 miles. 81,000 people took part in the first Sport Relief Mile, sponsored by Fitness First, in 2004. Sainsbury's is now the official sponsor of the mile. In 2006 more than 423,000 people took part in the Sport Relief Mile, making it one of the biggest mass participation events in history. The Sport Relief Mile show on BBC One on the morning of Saturday 15 July was presented by John Inverdale and Colin Jackson and drew an audience of almost 1 million with an 18% share. Among the 20,000 participants who took part at London's Embankment were Lord Coe, Dame Kelly Holmes, Sportacus, McFly, Michael Watson, Tessa Sanderson, G4, Jamie Oliver and Sadie Frost. Televised miles were also held in Brighton, Southampton, Plymouth, Bristol, Cardiff, Belfast, Manchester, Glasgow, Newcastle Gateshead, Leeds, Hull, Nottingham, Birmingham and Ipswich. Children from Amsterdam, Netherlands took part in 2008 and along with children from Wouwaschoten, Netherlands again in 2010. John Inverdale has hosted every Sport Relief Mile show, initially with Colin Jackson in 2004 and 2006, with Jake Humphrey in 2008, with Chris Hollins, Fern Britton and Helen Skelton in 2010 and from 2012 alongside the One Show presenters Matt Baker and Alex Jones. The Sport Relief Mile has been changed for 2014 where participants can run, swim or cycle 1 mile or indeed do all three. The Sport Relief Games will be on Sunday 23 March 2014 on BBC One and is hosted from London by John Inverdale, Alex Jones and Matt Baker with reporters in Cardiff, Glasgow and Belfast. Other events. Sport Relief provides material for the BBC and is part of a UK-registered charity 326,568 called Charity Projects. In 2009 the charity awarded a total of £36 million in grants with net assets of £120 million. Of which £97 million is in fixed asset investments such as funds in equities and bonds. The charity reported staff costs of £6 million plus agency staff costs of £6 million. The charity will also be receiving a UK government grant of £5 million in 2010. In 2006 David Walliams swam the English Channel to raise money for Sport Relief. He trained for 9 months with Professor Greg White of the English Institute for Sport and was also helped by the King of the Channel, Mike Reed, chairman of the Channel Swimming Association. Walliams' feat was documented for a BBC programme called Little Britain's Big Swim. David also swam the Gibraltar Strait for the 2008 campaign. In 2006, the BBC staged a celebrity elimination show jumping competition called Only Fools on Horses, which raised over £250,000. On July 26, 2009, Eddie Izzard began running a series of 43 marathons over 51 days for Sport Relief. On September 15, Eddie arrived in Trafalgar Square, marking the end of his 43rd marathon in only 51 days. He ran 42.195 kilometers a day, 6 days a week for 7 weeks straight, covering 1,166 miles across the UK. Izard raised over £1,152,510 for sport relief. In 2014, Davina McCall took on a sport relief challenge to raise money for the appeal. This was called Davina, Beyond Breaking Point, which saw the presenter tackle bike riding, running and swimming for 7 days as she traveled from the north of the country to the end. Alex Jones also took part in a sport relief challenge which saw her climb up a rock in Utah, USA. Extensive coverage of this event was shown on the One Show. Partners. See also, Comic Relief, Sport Aid, Children in Need. References. External links, Sport Relief website, Donate, Sport Relief at BBC Online, Sport Relief at BBC Programmes, All Out for India, Sport Relief Fairtrade Cotton Socks, Bench Press Challenge.